Well, hello there. This is Dr. Dell again talking about the supercomputer. And I want to point out to you that this is my personal copy. If you have one, your name will be up here where it says Dr. Dell. And then when you bring up the screen, your name will be on the screen where it says Dr. Dell. It'll have your name on it. So this is really personalized to you. It is your personal supercomputer. Okay, now what I want to talk to you about on this video is what we call the Supercomputer Stem. That's the name of it. And that's where you get what we call truly supra benefits. Now the prefix supra really just means beyond. And this is because the supercomputer is really beyond any existing resource that I've ever heard of. It's truly a 21st century tool. And in fact, there are some absolutely amazing features that this supercomputer STEM has that the users just love. Now, for any student that's taking a post-elementary math course, we could be talking algebra, geometry, trig, calculus, you name it, any kind of a STEM math course, this thing is an unparalleled study aid. It's just phenomenal. In fact, what it's like, this supercomputer STEM, is kind of like having an expert mathematician and also an expert math tutor available to you anytime, 24/7. That's a remarkable claim, I understand, and I'm going to explain to you now how that is possible and why that is true. Well, the facts are this supercomputer STEM contains three incredible state-of-the-art 21st century tools. This is the symbol here that's at the top of your screen when you click on it. Now let me tell you about the tools and give you a little history behind it. First of all, there's a programming language called Mathematica that was developed by Steve Wolfram and released back in 1988. Now there's quite a story behind that. This Mathematica is an incredible tool. It solves any kind of a math problem you can dream up and much, much more than that. And it was introduced in 1988. In fact, Steve Jobs was a good friend of Steve Wolfram's. And when the next computer came out in about 1988, they bundled Mathematica with the next computer. In fact, Steve Wolfram says that Steve Jobs is the guy that gave him the name Mathematica to call this thing. Okay, now the next computer was a very, very expensive computer used by professionals. It cost about $13,000 in today's dollars, but it's extremely powerful because of Mathematica. As a matter of fact, they bought 12 of them over in Switzerland at Chern, and a guy named Tim Berners-Lee actually used Mathematica and the next computer to develop the World Wide Web, which I'm sure you've heard of. So that was done with this tool. It's just a fantastic tool. Now it evolved and just got better and better, more and more powerful. And by the way, it's pretty expensive to use and very difficult to use. You've got to be a pretty expert to do that, but it's powerful. Well, in 2009, they wrote a program with Mathematica called Wolfram Alpha and released it to the world. And most of you may have heard of it. It's free on the internet. You go to wolframalpha.com and you can ask it just about any question you can think of and it will answer it. And that's certainly true of math, but it's true of many, many other things as well. And as a matter of fact, Siri on the iPhone is based on Wolfram Alpha. So Wolfram Alpha is this powerful tool that really helps you do things with math. And then in 2015, Steve Wolfram introduced Wolfram Language to the world. And that really is then the programming language used to write Mathematica programs. But what makes it unique is you can enter a command in free form and then it's translated into a Wolfram language or Mathematica command for you. And so this way you can write Mathematica programs without really knowing all the Mathematica syntax and so forth. It makes it very easy. And then Wolfram Alpha is this powerful tool. Now all three of these are included on the Supercomputer STEM because they come with the Raspberry Pi 3. And so you now have them available to you. But more importantly than that, how do you use them? That's the big question now. Well, on the Supercomputer STEM, we have included a lot of training, many training videos that will teach the math student how to use these tools, not only to solve any kind of a mathematics problem they may have, but also to learn how to use them as a tutor for step-by-step training. Okay, let me give you a quick demo of that. You come up to the menu up here, remember, there's this Mathematica symbol star, and you click on that, and that is going to now empower you to use all of these three very, very powerful tools. And I'm going to show you how that works. This pops up. You get what's called a Mathematica Notebook, and you also get this other window pops up, and I'm going to just close it down. Now this is a notebook for Mathematica, and this is where you use the tools. Now at this point, if you didn't know what to do, you're kind of stuck. I know it took me a long time to figure out how this worked, and finally I did figure it out, and that's what we've now put in the training videos that go with a STEM computer. But I'll just give you a little hint of how this goes. You come to the little plus sign here, and you click on that, and up comes a box, and it says Wolfram Language Input. And that's the default command if you knew Wolfram Language. You have a freeform input, and that's assuming you don't know Wolfram Language, and you can use freeform. And then you have Wolfram Alpha. Now Wolfram Alpha is actually the tool that we're going to be using. This is our powerful mathematician I told you about, and our tutor. And so when you click on that, you get this little symbol here. And I'm going to give you a couple of quick examples of how the Wolfram Alpha tool works. Okay, I'm going to give you a simple example that a student might run into in a basic algebra class. Solve x squared, this little hat means you raise this to the exponent 2, minus 3x plus 4 equals 0. This is called a quadratic equation to solve. And so you type it in and hit the enter key, which I now hit, and then you wait. Now up here it says running. What's happening is this has gone over now to a bank of computers somewhere, I think in Peoria, Illinois, and it's solving this problem, and it's going to now send you back the answer. This is how Wolfram Alpha works, and it's formatting the thing, and here comes back the answer. And so it says here's the input interpretation. You always check it out. Solve x squared minus 3x plus 4 equals 0, and it gives you the answer down here, and it tells you what the answer is. Now you can come over here, and if you want to, click on this, and it'll give you the same answer, but it will use approximated numbers instead of the symbols. But more importantly, let's say that your student, so this is where the expert mathematician now gives you the answer. It also plots these roots. These have to be complex roots in the complex plane, which is what you'd be taught in an algebra class, a good one. But now let's say that you wanted to know how to do this manually. You come over here where it says step-by-step solution, and you click on that, and once again you got to wait a little while now while it works on it, but then it comes back and here it says okay. Solve x for x in the x squared minus 3x plus 4. Now we know that it's going to use complete the square. In fact, it comes up here and it tells you it's going to use the tool complete the square. They've taught you in algebra. Or they would give you an alternative to use the quadratic formula. But let's come back over here now, and it tells you how to do it. Subtract 4 from both sides. Then you add 9/4 to both sides, and it tells you, and then you take the square. That'll make this a perfect square. Then you take the square root of both sides, and it's telling you step by step what to do. And I went a little fast here. And then it gives you the answer. The point being now, this is like having a tutor tell you exactly what to do step by step. This is what your teacher would have taught you in class or what might be in your book. But a lot of times you didn't take good notes, or maybe you can't find it in the book. Anyway, this will do it for any kind of a problem you give it. This is a real simple algebra problem, but this will do this for any kind of a math problem. Now, of course, the problem is knowing how to enter the commands for Wolfram Alpha. How do you do that? And of course, that's what I teach you in a lot of videos. Here's another thing that's really, really neat about the supercomputer. If you do this on a regular computer and you give it this Wolfram Alpha question, it'll give you the answer. But now let's suppose you don't go ask another question. Well, then that disappears and you do not have a record of it. But now you're going to have a record of it in your notebook. You come down here and you click on this again, and we'll do another problem. And you've still got the old one there. And I'm going to put another problem in, so I'm going to pause the video. Okay, now we're going to give it a calculus problem. This would come from a Calculus 2 course. Find the integral of x sine of x squared from -1 to 2. And hit enter, and let's see it do it. Now you can do this manually. This is a doable problem that you might get in a calculus book. and all of a sudden it comes back and it gives you the answer. It says, okay, here it is, and it shows you the answer that you could have done manually, and there it is. Now, in this case, it's going to also let you do a step-by-step solution. This one involves, if you know calculus, this involves a variable substitution, and it tells you how to do it here, and it goes through step by step what you would do if you were learning to do this in a calculus class. So not only does it give you the answer, but it gives you, when possible, the step-by-step solution. We're finding an antiderivative, we're doing a substitution, applying a fundamental theorem, and so on. Now, if you do calculus, you would understand this, and that's what it does. It also then would give you the antiderivative, which is called the indefinite integral, and the same thing, it would give you a step-by-step solution. So not only does it give you the answer, but it gives you the manual solution when it's possible. And now comes a dirty little secret that sometimes they don't tell you when they teach you calculus. Here's another, looks like a very similar problem. The integral of sine of x squared from -1 to 2 looks even simpler than the previous one. And we're going to hit enter and let it go do the calculation for us. And it's running and we're waiting for it. Now, this would never come up in a calculus course because this cannot be done with manual techniques of calculus. However, it comes up in engineering. So here's the answer to you. It gives you the answer. Here's the actual numerical answer, but it didn't use ordinary functions to calculate it. It had to use what are called special functions, which are not taught in ordinary calculus. And this capital S is called a Fresnel integral. And you will also notice that there are no step-by-step solutions for this one. And why is that, do you suppose? Well, there is no easy step-by-step way to do this. This is a very, very difficult problem to do manually, virtually impossible. You have to use geometric series to do it. You have to probably use a computer, but it goes ahead and it graphs it for you, gives you the answer. And so this is where it's like having a powerful mathematician at your beck and call, but in this case there's no tutor because there is no way to do this manually. Now, as a matter of fact, in calculus books today, they have to restrict themselves to problems that are doable with the old manual techniques. And I will tell you right now that they can sometimes be extremely difficult to use, very time-consuming, very hard to learn, and frequently inadequate. They won't even do the problem. So Wolfram Alpha now just gives you, not only does it solve the problems automatically, it'll give you the step-by-step solutions when they're practical. And a lot of times, by the way, the step-by-step solution is so complicated that they never teach it in a regular class if you really wanted to learn it. And so this is really just an incredible tool. Now, it's good for homework. You're not going to be able to take this into your class, I don't believe. The supercomputer is something you're going to use at home. But like I said, it's like having an expert mathematician and also then, when appropriate, an expert math tutor. Okay, here's a few other just fun examples of Wolfram Alpha. What is the 2,000th prime number? How would you ever find that out? Well, Wolfram Alpha tells you immediately. 17,389, that's the 2,000th prime number. What was $5 back when Henry Ford had the $5 day back in 1914? What would $5 be worth today? Well, you ask Wolfram Alpha, and it tells you today that would be worth $122. And as a matter of fact, it always tells you a lot more, or often, that you want. It shows you the inflation rate and what that $5 would have been worth over a long period of time. Excuse me there. And it shows you the inflation rate per year since then has been 3.16% per year, and so on. Now, I use Wolfram Alpha in my triad math training, my pre-calculus tier 4 and in calculus tier 5 and in differential equations. And most people just use it with a regular computer. But here's the problem, as you know, once you use a Wolfram Alpha command, then it goes away. But now, look, I've got all these in a notebook that I can save now. So this, if you're taking our triad math training, calculus, differential equations, pre-calculus, whatever, this is a much better computer to do it on than a regular laptop computer, because you can save now all of your work and come back and review it later. And you just come up here to your file format, and you go down and you hit Save As, and you give it a name, whatever name you want to give it. My files today. Put the date, whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter, and it saves it for you. And then you can come back later and look at it. So This is just an incredible tool that you just can't beat it. I don't know any way that you can get this kind of a resource anyplace else. Khan Academy has wonderful videos. I'm a great fan of Sal Khan, but nothing like this. My Triad math program is great training if you want to learn the concepts, but again, this is the tool that I use. I use Wolfram Alpha to do this. And as a matter of fact, you don't need to learn most of the manual concepts unless someone's going to test you on them, because no one applies them anymore. You just learn to use the tool. That's what you really need to learn today, is to use the tool. And the supercomputer is by far and away the best way I know to do that. You can do it with a straight Raspberry Pi, but then you got to figure it all out for yourself. With the supercomputer, you get lots and lots of videos that explain to you how to do all these things with Wolfram Alpha and also with Wolfram Language and Mathematica. So we certainly encourage you to do that, and it'll make learning math so much more pleasant and easy and doable. And our goal really is to help give every human being that wants it the appropriate math training for their greater desires and aspirations in life. So mathematics can open up so many doors for you, and this tool will let you do that. I'll just close by pointing out, if you can you can minimize it and put it in a window like this and move it over to here, let's say. Then you can run a video over on the right side. So if you're doing my training, for example, where I'm teaching you things with videos, you would probably want to run a video over here to the right and then have a notebook open to the left so you can go back and forth, and as I do something on a video, pause it, come do it on your notebook, and you go back and forth and do that. I will point out to you, as I've said in many other places, you can learn the concepts of pre-calculus and calculus and differential equations very quick and easy. The concepts are not very difficult. It's the old manual tools that are so difficult. And now you don't need to learn the old manual tools unless someone's going to test you on them, which I'm not. You just need to learn the new 21st century tools to solve them. So the concepts are easy, and now the tools are easy. And so no longer is calculus and differential equations a barrier to learning physics and chemistry and other STEM subjects, like it used to be a barrier because of the old manual tools that are so difficult. And so many people just gave up on them. So this is a new world we live in. You can learn all the calculus you need for STEM, physics and chemistry and things in about a semester. And the same is true for differential equations. And in fact, as you've heard me say many times in other places, all calculus books today that I'm aware of are obsolete. And the same is true of differential equations books, because they are filled with the old manual techniques that are now obsolete thanks to the new tools of Mathematica. And now, of course, Wolfram Alpha makes it even easier to use Mathematica. So this is Dr. Dell. I hope that you understand the significance of this. It's an absolutely almost unbelievable, dramatic thing. This tool now makes STEM math extremely easy to learn and to use, both for students and professionals. And so I'm sure you're going to want to use it as soon as possible. So I encourage you to go get your own and begin to learn it. And if you need more training, now we have training on how to use the tool, but if you need concept training, then you might want to go to our Triad Math site and enroll in some of our modern 21st century training on the concepts of math. So Dr. Dell, wishing you the best and have a great future.